Your weekly dose of travel, entertainment, and lifestyle starts right now. The KZN Sharks Board reminds us of the importance of being cautious at the beach this festive season. Setsong tea crafters give us a bush experience like no other at their tea tours. We visit Isandlwana battlefield for a good dose of history. And then legendary actor, now author, Jerry Mufokeng gives us the 411 on his book, I Am a Man.
As the year draws closer to the end and the festive season fast approaching, most people will be heading down to the coast to unwind, with some choosing Durban beaches as their first destination of choice. The KwaZulu-Natal coastline is famous for its clean and safe beaches. Warm waters are also a draw card for bathers who flock here to surf, swim, and just unwind. But have you ever wondered how the province has, over the years, managed to keep bathers safe from shark attacks? Well, that has been possible thanks to the KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board, the only institution of its kind in the world servicing about 320 kilometer strip of shark nets and newly developed drum lines along the province's shoreline to provide safety for bathers and boosting the province's tourism. There are currently 37 beaches in KZN protected by the shark net and drum lines, and they are serviced daily. We got an early head start just in time to see how nets and drum lines are maintained not far from the coastline where bathers and surfers enjoy themselves. We are at the Wilson Wolf Harbour in Durban, about to get on the boat to witness how KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board has enforced safety measures to protect bathers against sharks incidents. So join me to find out more. Who knows, we might spot a shark or two. So follow me, let's go. With permission granted to get on board, COVID-19 measures observed, and safety tips explained, we headed out to sea. Several crews are deployed daily to maintain, change, and check safety nets covering a huge area. Drum lines are also checked. They are used to target mostly dangerous sharks, the likes of the great white and the tiger sharks, amongst others.
What we've just witnessed now is the crew going out to sea, changing, maintaining, inspecting, doing any repairs, tensioning the nets and the anchors and so on. So the gear in itself is quite a lot of hard work.
Yeah,
you can imagine it's very, very heavy. They would always have spare units with them on the boats. But what's also important is that still keeping with protecting bathers from shark attack, we've now come up with other methods. For example, you saw there was quite a lot of dolphin activity around the area. Yeah. So we'd use things like your pingers, which is an alarm that's installed onto the net, which sends out a high frequency sound just to alert dolphins of the shark nets and its presence. And then obviously when you have common dolphins around the area, they're kind of used to the net. So we've also found that there's been a huge reduction with that. We've then also reduced the number of nets. Before you'd have nets overlapping each other like that. So if you were looking from the sky, they would overlap, where we've now pulled them apart. So now you're using less nets in the water. And most importantly, I think quite a huge drastic jump has been the introduction of drum lines. So a drum line is basically a baited ball. We'd put a hook. It's got a big anchor and also this big buoys, of which we'll show you just now. So that then targets specifically the dangerous sharks. And the dangerous sharks are your great whites, your tiger, and then your Zambezi.
After 2 hours at sea, we headed back to dry land. A boat tour concluded. Luckily for us, we did spot a few dolphins which were not camera shy. The beach economy does play a major contributor to the Durban economy. But unfortunately, we were not able to see any sharks. But don't worry, on my next location, you're guaranteed to see some sharks. Let's go. We may not have spotted sharks at sea, but what better way to see what real sharks look like than a visit to the Shark Museum. The museum has a display hall with a variety of lifelike replicas of sharks, fish, rays, including the great white shark. But But the main attraction is the shark dissection show, open to everyone. The significance of this show is to educate the public about the importance of balancing leisure and conservation.
Piece of clothing. This one here is a Zambezi. Zambezi sharks are also very dangerous. They can swim in salt water, in the sea, and fresh water.
According to the CEO, Harry Mbambo, the KZN Sharks Board is mandated to protect bathers from any shark attack and have been doing this for over 50 years.
We protect bathers along the coastline of KZN, starting from the north, which is Richards Bay, down to the extreme south, in as far as Port Edward or Munster. We do make sure that whoever ventures out to the sea is highly protected. How do we do that? We've had the nets installed some years back so that sharks are kept on one side whilst bathers or the beach users are on another side. The important point to mention is that whoever ventures out to the sea must come back home intact.
If you are getting ready to hit KZN beaches this festive season, make sure to keep away from shorelines where there are no floaters.
When you arrive at Gamatlala village in Limpopo, you will be welcomed with traditional Sepedi music and dance. Trendy travelers, it's indeed travel o'clock, and today we find ourselves in a beautiful, very hot Limpopo province. Today we are in the village of Ramatlaba, Ramushe, but today I'll be spending time with these beautiful ladies. Tradition, tradition, tradition. Today we are experiencing the Sitsong Tea Tour, where they are calling us back to our roots to experience the food, the teas, and how to use the herbal way of remaining healthy and happy. It's a beautiful affair. You don't want to miss this one. At the core of this experience is the education of indigenous knowledge systems.
Jwale re boetse setsong sa gabo rena ene re a tsebalega gona jwale re setse re tswa mafaseng a gole ke ka baka leo gone jwale le tlo go mpona ke tleletse gona mo le mpona go ntse.
Each hut houses different information on the tea making process. This is to give guests thorough knowledge of the product so that when time comes to sip the tea, you are well informed of its journey.
We have activated the indigenous knowledge that has been a lifestyle of the people around here. So this is a very rich corner of a Limpopo province, and it's Kukune land. And these women have been silently living this life. You can see now that a lot of them are growing old, but they're still very, very industrious and active. So what inspired tourism is when the youngsters, especially the youth that have been developing in these communities, they looked at saying, we can use this for socio-economic upliftment, we can expose these talents, we can talk about this. And what then became a cherry on top are the teas, that the two teas that are being produced by these villagers, the red root tea and the black bush tea. Those have become a cherry on top because they actually are speaking the language beyond what we are saying.
Tea has always been the best thing to bring people together, and I discovered today that the teas right here that I'm looking at brought two communities together, Gamatlala as well as Gapatla. So we are looking at the black bush tea as well as the red root tea. Tell me a little bit more about the Setsong tea crafters.
Setsong tea crafters ke batho ba ile gore ba tekemšitse go bušetša batho ba bona Setsong gore re phele ka ditee tša sega ga bo rena re se ka tlherena ditee tša di ka nageng tše dingwe tša kantle because mo re ditšego gona mobung o re ditšego gona ka re ba sekukune ka makana ga rena re tseba gore ge re le mola modimo ba re file ditee tše le go swantse re phele ka tšona gore re tukhutše go tlo hle re reka dihlare tše di ka folotšago mebele ya rena mara gone ditee tše di ka re thušago rena re lemogile gore ge re tšea ditee tše tša rena re ya re di lekola re hwetše gore e nngwe the black bush tea e ne vitamin A, C, E le zinc ka mogare the red root ra kera gore e ne beta carotene le zinc.
There's so much more that the ladies do with these two particular brands. So let's go and spill some tea at the tea bar. The tea bar is where different products are displayed for those looking to purchase products that are made from natural resources found in the area.
Re godile tietse di newa ka mogare ga malapa mara ge di newa re be re bona o ka re bahlodi ba mafelelo re thoma go ja ke dihlong ka yona tee batswadi ba rena ba re ke tee re re aowa se tee re re dosega ke batho gantente ke tee e leng gore e ne le bophelo mo mmeleng ya rena e a fodiša ke gore ka mogare ka mo e go thoma mo hlogong mo e ntšhatšhila ke gore ya go hlatswa ya go bea gabotse tee.
And now for the ultimate leg of this experience is this setting over here. In the absolute bush, you can have lunch, dinner, or breakfast served. And I don't know if you can see, but right there is where you can have your massage done. Breathtaking. And not so far away from that, there is a dam. Isn't this amazing?
So the lifestyle is about eating healthy, eating indigenous food, eating wild fruits, processing their own food, and picking up greenery, which is morojo, that is as it is known by Bapedi people.
The tour comes to an end with a bush spa by the river, where it is just you and Mother Nature. And of course, tea to go with every occasion.
Lindizwe Ngobese is a descendant of some of the Zulu warriors that defeated the British in Isandlwana in Nquthu in 1879. He's now a tour guide who takes mostly British and German tourists through the history of the biggest defeats of the British in Africa. The mountain behind me is called Isandlwana, which is for Isandlwana because it's sort of like a Zulu hut in a way. It was here that the British suffered their biggest defeat on African soil in history. But until today, descendants of those that fought the war still come here to find out about bits of British history. Some say it was part of a war that was never meant to happen in the first place.
This is the 22nd of January 1879 between the Zulus and the British. Isandlwana and Rockrift they've become their destinations. Many of them, they can come here maybe 3-4 times a year. Some of them as military people coming here to learn, because the main thing about this, they are still using Isandlwana as they do their military training and Rockrift, so they use them as do's and do nots. And apart from that, some of them will come as just friends. Some of them, many of them as pensioners, big groups, maybe bus loads. And we've got big companies sending them out here.
Because of COVID-19, British tourists have not been here in a while. Now, South Africa is out of the red zone of countries that British people should either not visit or be cautious when they visit those countries. But because COVID was so long and it still continues, it's meant that tour guides who would take people on trips around these areas have had to suffer a little bit. Ngobese says even though South Africa is out of the red list, he has not had clients from that part of the world just yet. But he says they've booked for early in the new year.
We are very, very hopeful that they will come, because right now they are already inquiring. And they even ask about, for us now, people like myself now, as tourist guide here, they ask you whether you've now received your job. If you say yes, they want you to provide them, so that now when we start next year, everything now is okay.
Across on the other side of the province, in Hluhluwe, we find Zamimpilo. This Zulu calabash or ukamba is made by Goku Mangubane Mthembu, and we found her here at Zamimpilo as we're driving along the N2 from Durban to Mkhuze on the border with Mozambique. You also here at Zamimpilo find some woven baskets like these ones. There's also beaded wear that people can adorn on their bodies. Here, elderly women make and sell crafts to foreign tourists who would be visiting game parks in the area. Maskosana Mthembu is one of them.
Thina sasifundiswe ugogo uMagumbi siqala ukufika la umuntu wayengangena emakethe engakwazi ukukhanda into yezandla. uMagumbi wayefuna umuntu uma izongena la emakethe ekhanda umsebenzi wezandla.
Since the lifting of hard lockdowns, they've had a few visitors from Germany who buy their crafts. But they also say they're still waiting for the return of the Brits who once visited them often.
Sishawe yilento kuthiwa iCovid. Sinempahla esiyikhandayo thina bomama bala eZamimpilo. Asisakwazi ukukhanda, ibhizinisi ayisahambi kahle njengakuqala. Ivakashi eyisuka phesheya izinto eziyithanda kakhulu abantu baphesheya bathanda icraft oyenza ngezandla zakho.
While those that serve tourists here are still waiting for the influx of people from overseas, they're urging South Africans to explore a few more areas they would not ordinarily visit within South Africa's borders. In that way, they too could learn more about the country's history, while ensuring the tourism sector in the rural areas continues to survive.
World-renowned actor, film and playwright Dr. Jerry Mufokeng Wamaketa has released a memoir titled I Am a Man. He launched his memoir at Isipho, a small black-owned bookstore in Orlando West, Soweto, where he grew up. We were honored to have him chat to us about this heart-wrenching book.
I'm a Man is to confirm that I've come to my manhood and I'm not done yet. And it's an invitation to men, and when I mean old boys, to come into manhood, and also an invitation for all of us to raise our boys into becoming men who can inhabit their masculinity responsibly, proudly so. Then I think there's a future for our families and for society at large, in all its different facets. So it's a cry for men to work on themselves to that point where they can say, I am a man. This is how I begin my last chapter. In the final analysis, I'm a man. I have lived, I have died. I have loved, I have hated. I've been celebrated, I've been shamed. I've been honored as a man. I have been emasculated. And still, I live. I know who I am. I know who I'm not. I know what I am. I know what I'm not. I'm a man. I'm basically saying I've lived a life of scars and stars, and I'm happy with who I am. That's what makes me a man. A year has 4 seasons, and there will never be spring season in our lives until there's been a winter. And so winter is the birth of spring. So, you know, in the Bible, Paul says, I have learned under all circumstances, different circumstances, to be content, to be satisfied.
In today's disconnected society where everyone claims to be self-made, do you think there's hope?
There are a few good men who try. They make themselves vulnerable, Seswan. They dare to love. It's unmanlike. They dare to forgive. It's unmanlike. They dare to father their daughters. The daughter must have their first love, their first kiss, their first date with their father. And then they grow up very healthy and affirmed inside. And with that, we minimize the chances of abuse.
He's had many highlights in his acting career. Ntate Jerry is a romantic and has always been a one-woman man. After getting his heart broken, he was blessed with his lovely wife.
I can still see her in her white cap and a dress that's yellow with lines going across and some sneakers. Here, the heart skips a beat. And now, listen, 2 things stand against that. 1, I have a contract with God. Yes. 2, I don't believe in love at first sight. Okay. These people are lying. You can't love somebody the first time you see her. So I think, no, forget about this. Hey, the months go, and the more I pour water, I'm pouring paraffin, man. So 41 years later, here we are.
So is the book targeted specifically at men or society at large?
This book is a therapy against patriarchy. The poison in a boy's heart, mind, psyche, everywhere is all our responsibility. All of us. If men are trash, all of us raise trashes. And so I'm inviting everyone to read the book so that we can cure patriarchy, raise well-rounded boys, and cure the wounded tigers.
And that's all we have for you this week, Trendy Travelers. Remember to show us some love on social media and always travel responsibly. Bye.